This is our favourite time of year. It is autumn here in the UK and the air is crisp. The colours of the woodland are oranges, yellows and reds, and there is just something so magical about it. We are here today foraging with our good friend Megan from the Forager's Cottage in the hope that we will find some mushrooms. Now, foraging is probably one of my favourite ways to connect with nature. I love to learn about different plants for use in herbalism and other magical workings. And yeah, I'm just so excited to go and find some mushrooms, which I don't know too much about. I normally forage for other plants and flowers and things like that. So yeah, really excited to go with someone who's really knowledgeable about it. How about you, Lizzie? Have you ever foraged for mushrooms before?
Oh, I have foraged on my own, but I am really excited to be foraging with Megan and learning all about it. I just can't wait. This is very, very special.
Yes. So yeah, without further ado, let's go and find Megan in the woods and start foraging for mushrooms.
Come down with me and my mushrooms.
What have you found there?
Hello.
Ah, lovely to meet you as well.
I know, it's been so long.
I'm so excited to get stuck in today.
I've already started.
I was going to say, well, where do we start?
Well, I like to start looking for the edible mushrooms.
Yeah.
As soon as I get in the forest, I'm kind of looking at where they might be. So this is a great environment to start looking for all kinds of edible mushrooms with the mix of deciduous and coniferous woodland. And here we go. On the edges of both, I've found our first edible mushroom.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Exciting.
Oh my goodness, that's great. Is this one of your favourites?
This is absolutely one of my favourites. It's not a very well-known one in terms of, you know, when you get like a wild mushroom mix kind of thing. But this is called a saffron milkcap. And it is called that because it creates this bright orange milk that then stains blue. So you can kind of see
Oh, wow.
on my hand there where it goes orange. And when you bruise it, it should start bleeding an orange colour.
Wow.
It's wonderful. And as someone that isn't a fan of shop-bought mushrooms, this one is probably one of the furthest away from a normal mushroom taste and a normal mushroom texture you can get.
Okay.
It's more nutty and crunchy than it is like mushroomy and slimy. So in part of a mix, it's a fantastic mushroom to add into the rest of the basket.
Could it be used in a magical working as well?
In the same way any kind of mushroom can be, in magical workings, they tend to lump mushrooms in either altogether as good or altogether as bad. So it's really how you perceive your practice in a way of how you want to use mushrooms. So mushrooms are such good communicators. I like to use them in things that involve communication, connecting, being more present, things like that. They're also fantastic for decay and rebirth. So if there's anything you need getting rid of and starting a new path in your life, mushrooms are also a really fantastic way of connecting with those kinds of practices.
That's
Fascinating, yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to learn so much.
I know.
I love it.
Can't wait.
Well, it's the first one gone in the basket. So the best way to tell if a mushroom is good or not is to give it a good old tap. This also helps kind of spread the spores a little bit, gets it a bit jilted, agitated, and lets it spread its spores.
I've seen you do this.
Yeah.
I do this quite. It's also really fun. So if you give it a good old tap, if it falls apart, you know it's a bad mushroom. But if it kind of keeps its good shape and a nice little wobble, you know it's quite a good mushroom.
Oh, amazing.
Some mushrooms are better to tap than others, like more fun. But this one's a nice little wobbly one, and you know it's a good find.
I love that.
It's quite important, isn't it, to ID mushrooms correctly?
Absolutely.
Can you give any tips for foraging safely for mushrooms?
Learn your anatomy. Even if you've got a good mushroom book, I find a lot of beginners don't tend to know what they're referencing when they say things like margin, cap, stipe. They can be really confusing terms for someone that's never ever been exposed to mushrooms before. So actually going in and taking the time to learn the anatomy of a mushroom and what you're actually looking for when IDing something can be really, really important.
Yeah.
Make sure you've got a minimum of 4 unique characteristics for each mushroom you're identifying, because there's no kind of generalization with mushrooms. You have to learn every single one individually and its toxic lookalikes. So learning the basics first instead of just diving straight in can really help build your foundational knowledge of what to look for.
Yeah, it's really important to know your stuff, isn't it? So don't go diving straight into mushroom foraging at home without knowing your stuff, because yeah, there's a lot of poisonous lookalikes, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah, but there is another delicious edible right next to it. And it is one that is very sought after. This year has been a fantastic year for the Boletus edulis, otherwise known as the porcini, penny bun. But it is a wonderful little mushroom. And if you have a little look, you can see why it was called the penny bun, because it looks like a little bread bun has just been placed in the forest. So I often get questions or people telling me whether I should cut or pull up a mushroom, and there is no difference. It's not good or bad for the mycelium if you cut it or pull it up, because people tell me, oh, you shouldn't cut it, it introduces bacteria, or you shouldn't pull it up because it damages the mycelium. None of that is true. So what I tend to find is, depending on which mushroom you've got, whether I cut it or I pull it. So I cut the saffron milk caps because they tend to have quite a lot of grainy, gritty soil attached to them, and then that gets in my basket and then that gets on everything else. Porcinis, however, have a massive stipe that carries on underground. So actually half of the mushroom could be beneath the surface. So them I tend to pull because you're missing half of the mushroom. And either way, it doesn't damage the mycelium, it doesn't damage the mushroom, it's still going to produce more. So it's kind of preference about whether you cut or whether you pull.
So some people say that you shouldn't disturb a fairy ring. Is that correct?
There is a lot of folklore around fairy rings, and I love all of it. The scientific reason that mushrooms grow in a circle is because mycelium grows in a ring or in a line, and they push the fruiting bodies to the edges to give it the best chance of spreading the spores and going as far as possible. However, that's a boring answer. And people back then didn't know these things, and so it was such a magical thing to see a fairy ring. Different cultures have different beliefs around fairy rings and how they came to be. They're actually very bad luck in most of Britain and the British Isles. It was said that if you stepped into a fairy ring, you would be cursed to dance until you died. Wow. So you would be dancing and dancing away, and the fairies had bewitched you to keep going. The only way to stop the dancing was to throw thyme over you, the herb, and then poke you with an iron prodder, which is very specific. I just go around the woods with my iron prodder.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you carry one around with you?
It was said if you kept a leaf of the wood sorrel in your pocket, you would be protected from the magic of fairy rings. So you can always dry a piece of wood sorrel to keep with you. Another one of the myths is they were portals to the fairy realms. Fairies are not good. They are not what a lot of modern day depictions are. They're quite evil, mysterious and mischievous little creatures, and they would drag you in, and then time could pass very differently. So you may step into a fairy ring one day and step out completely unchanged 10 years later. Or the other might happen, you might step in and time in the fairy realm goes very quickly, and by the time you step out, mere moments later, you've aged 50 years. It's a very cool myth surrounding it.
So we won't be stepping into it.
I've got a couple of favourites. So in Germany, they believed that fairy rings popped up where witches danced naked in the woods.
Brilliant.
Excellent. I think that is fantastic.
Lizzie's ready.
And there are some ideas that fairy rings popped up when dragons flew over the forest, and where the fire of their tails touched the ground is where fairy rings popped up.
Lizzie loves
That's incredible.
a dragon.
Great.
Is that Celtic?
Isn't it? No, that's Middle European. So,
Brilliant.
yeah.
All of the above.
Amazing. Fairy rings are
Amazing.
great.
Very magical.
called a slippery jack. And it's called a slippery jack because if you feel the top of the mushroom, if it's been raining recently, it'll be really slippery. It has like a mucus layer on the top of it. But when it's dry like this, it just feels a bit tacky. But it is a really nice edible mushroom. Boop.
Cool, look at that.
So this one I will cut again because it gets debris all over it. But the slippery jack is a really good one. It has something called a veil over it. So this little bit here would have stretched across the whole length of the mushroom, and it's now detached to form what we call a skirt. And these are all kind of anatomy things that you've got to look for when IDing mushrooms. It's got this beautiful lemon yellow. See how vibrant that yellow, how vibrant that yellow is on the underside. And again, it's got pores instead of gills. So this one is a really delicious edible. The only thing is you have to remove the top because that mucus layer can upset some people's stomachs. So when you're preparing it for eating, bye-bye.
Good night, good sir.
When you're preparing it for eating, you just want to make sure that you take off that top. Can you see it comes off quite easily? So you just want to peel that off and you can fry it up. And this is an absolutely delicious, really umami flavour of mushroom. So I tend to dry half of my yield that I find and then eat half straight away.
So Megan, do you still call yourself a witch?
Yes, I do. I definitely see it as a very broad term for a lot of different practices and spiritual beliefs. And I actually have a long history of my family being witches, especially in Ireland. There's still a coven of my family members over there.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's amazing.
It's definitely a part of my heritage, and it's always contributed to what I do out in the woods and how I live my life. So it's definitely a part of who I am.
Did your ancestors also forage, from what you know?
Well, I actually learnt to forage from my grandparents, but a different side of the family. So it wasn't the same family that's got the history of witchcraft. It's a different side. And I feel very privileged to have that upbringing.
Yeah.
Although they never taught me mushrooms. So this is something that is self-taught that I quite enjoy.
So do you use mushrooms in your witchcraft practice?
No, mainly because I eat them all.
How greedy of you.
If I'm doing any kitchen witchcraft, I will use a few in things like that, but most of my practice comes from herbs and different things like that. But I just love mushrooms so much to eat them, but I end up having every intention to use them, and then I end up in dinner. So.
Could you use mushrooms in practice, in
Absolutely.
workings?
There's so many things you can do, and there's not a lot of teachings with history of mushrooms and witchcraft. Most of it is just very generic in the use of mushrooms. So I like to tell people that are interested in using mushrooms in their practice to go out and feel what's intuitive to you. That, like, certain poisonous mushrooms you can use in baneful witchcraft, and positive and psychedelic mushrooms you can use in all the positive side of it. So it's completely dependent on how you feel and how you connect to the fungi in different ways. So this is an incredible find. When foragers find this mushroom, it's like one of those happy dance giddy moments. So this is a cauliflower fungus, a part of the Spiraceae crispa family. They grow at the base of pine trees. So if you are looking in a pine tree forest, so this here is a Scots pine that's on the base of, and you find something that looks like someone's dropped a cauliflower out of the sky and dropped it onto the forest floor, that is a cauliflower fungus, and it is an amazing edible mushroom. It has kind of the texture of al dente pasta when cooked up, so you can actually make a mushroom pasta with just mushrooms. Like, you don't need to add the pasta to it at all. You can use the cauliflower fungus as the base. It is an absolutely wonderful edible, and it is what we call a choice edible, so it's one of the mushrooms that a lot of people search for. IDing it is really quite easy. There's nothing else that really looks like it. Like all these folded over bits that do look like
It's like coral.
Yeah, it does look a bit like coral. I sort of say like a brain as well, like the folds of a brain. But it's a really delicious mushroom. It's one of the only mushrooms that I'll say wash it, because it does have a lot of bugs in it. They love living in these mushrooms.
I can see.
Yeah, you can see quite a lot because it's such a good. Are you interested?
I want the cauliflower.
They do like living in the mushrooms, so this is one I will recommend you wash, because usually I just say brush them off, but yeah, this one takes a bit more prep than most mushrooms, but it's a fantastic find.
Oh, it looks amazing.
Oh look, there's some of those sticky ones again.
So that would be a case of like you finding this one mushroom over and over again and seeing it, and that would be then the thing that I would recommend you go out and research and connect to, because if this is the mushroom that you are intuitively drawn to, it's obviously got something to do with you. So either it's something you need in life, so it's got a particular beneficial beneficial vitamin or mineral or something in it that your body is craving, or it's like the spiritual side of it, and this mushroom you are drawn to for a particular way in the way it behaves or the way it grows. So that is your little mushroom that you need to focus on now.
Amazing. I'm definitely going to research more about it.
Little Slippery Jack.
Yeah. Great name as well.
Such a great name. But my mushroom that is very similar to that one of yours is called the blusher, Amanita rubescens, and I actually love it so much. I do have it tattooed on my leg. I love these so much. They again are not a beginner mushroom, as there are some very toxic lookalikes in this family, but this is a really good one if you're wanting to kind of develop your foraging skills, if you're already kind of used to foraging for mushrooms, as it does have some really good ID points that the poisonous mushrooms don't. So it's this little one here. So this one has gills and this lovely patterning on the cap. This is an older version of it here. Ooh, you can tell it's old, I just snapped it. But this is an older version of it here. It has these beautiful white gills that when damaged blush pink.
Wow.
So with that pink that you can see under there. So here you can see it's the Amanita. You can see that beautiful skirt on the underneath there. So, a little slug. You see that skirt? It has lines, or also known as striations, that go all the way from the top of the underside of the cap to the base. And that is a really good ID feature as well. So if you make sure it's got this pink hue where it's damaged and those striations on the cap, you know you've got yourself a blusher, as long as it's got the same ID features as the Amanita family. The toxic lookalike is the panther cap, and that will not blush pink. So nestled in the underbrush here, we've got one of the most sought after mushrooms. This is a chanterelle. This is not one of the ones you would usually see, but this is a winter chanterelle that comes out actually in autumn time. It's quite deceiving in the name of it. But another name for the winter chanterelle is yellow leg. You can kind of see why it's nicknamed yellow legs, and the fact that from the top they look really brown and just blend in with nature, and then you turn them around and they are the vibrant yellow colour. They've got that little dimple in the centre. Can you see that little hole, little dimple that's in the centre of them? That's actually where they release their spores from. So underside, they're not real gills. You look on the underside of it, that's just kind of flesh folded over and over again. They're not real. So it does release its spores right from the front, the top. It's a really good one for beginners because it's got that really bouncy texture to it. Can you feel it? It's almost like rubber. Yeah. So that's really a good distinctive point, as well as that hole in the centre, that little hole. And that hollowness goes all the way down the mushroom, down through the stipe. And it's a hollow stipe as well, so you'll be able to see through the stipe.
Yeah, I could kill those follow actually.
Yeah, you can. And you can use them just like normal chanterelles. You can cook them up. They're an absolutely fantastic flavour. Really sought after edible mushroom.
Megan, thank you so much for today. It's been just so lovely learning about all the mushrooms, and it's just been so grounding just being in the woodland with you as well.
Thank you. Honestly, thank you for spending the day with me. I've had so much fun showing you around this amazing woodland. And foraging for me is always a grounding activity. Just spending time in nature, having your hands buried in the dirt and collecting all the mushrooms is such a wonderful, mindful practice.
It feels so connecting to our ancestors as well, because it was such an important part of their lives. So it's so amazing to learn about all of these different plants that would have been around during our ancestors' time as well.
Absolutely. It's something that is so inherent in our DNA to forage. It is absolutely what every generation before us would have done. And I'm sure everyone has always foraged. You've picked blackberries.
Yeah.
As a kid, that is something you've always done, and that is something that has been handed down from parent to child and parent to child, and it's just we've lost the grand majority of it because of convenience. And foraging isn't about convenience. It is about connecting with nature. It's about doing something mindfully, you taking your physical hands to pick something and then cook it up instead of just going down to the shops and grabbing a pack of mushrooms.
Yeah.
It's something that really connects you to the earth and those that came before us.
Yeah.
And really exciting as well, like when you were like, oh, we've got a blusher mushroom, and I was like, yes, we've got a blush mushroom, we're going to put it in the basket. There seems to be like this, like you say, it's so, for me, to actually pick the mushroom and think, and like we were discussing about how to cook it and things like that.
Yes.
Like there's something so connecting to that, and then thinking it's going to go into your system, it's going to nourish you, rather than, like you say, going down the shops at a shop board. There's something really magical in that whole process.
There is, and it's actually better for your body to do that as well. So there are studies out there that show your body stops prepping for the food it's going to intake even when you start thinking about it. So the fact that you're out in the woods picking mushrooms, your body is already going, I'm preparing to digest this. And it means you can absorb more of the nutrients from the thing you're eating because your mind is already pre-prepping your body to do it. And foraging is such a good way to do it as well, because you're out there thinking of all the things you could make. And I know Tony, when she came, was saying, oh, I'm going to make loads of omelettes with this. So her head is already going into what recipes she's going to make. And I was saying about mushroom pasta earlier. So your mind will already be thinking about creating the digestive enzymes to digest the mushrooms we picked today.
That's amazing.
Lots of kitchen witchery going on.
Absolutely. It's such a good part of kitchen witchery to find edible foods. But if you're not confident with edible foods, you can use them in other spells and rituals. You don't have to eat it. There's no shame in picking something, taking it home and not eating it if you're not confident enough in your ID. There are so many other ways to use mushrooms in your practices, just in general, for connecting to the earth, communication, life, rebirth, death. All these things can be associated with mushrooms, and anything to do with the fae, the fair folk as well, they're very much associated with that. So it's not just about eating the mushrooms in foraging, it's about the greater part of using it in your practices as well.
Yeah, I love that. I was just saying as well that your knowledge is incredible, and it makes it really exciting because there's so, when you were saying about like ID, it's so important to ID, and that there are kind of 4 identification like processes to really solidify that. I think that's so important, because what did Tony say? She picked something up and then she was like, no, this is poisonous, and then she thought it was a
porcini, but it was a web cap. Yeah, which is a very dangerous mistake to make, really.
So that's so important, when you're talking about the identification of it. But there's something really satisfying then in identifying it properly.
Yes.
And then going, oh, that is a porcini or a blusher.
And I always say that's why we have serotonin and why we love to find things and go on treasure hunts. It's because of foraging. It is just an edible wild treasure hunt we're finding. And back in the day of our ancestors, that would have been the only reason we can eat, is if you find something, you're like, we're eating tonight. And if they didn't find anything, they wouldn't eat, they would fast. So it is so important for us to be able to go and have those like mental chemicals that go in our brain to say, yes, this is good, happy finding plants and mushrooms and edible things in the woods. So it's good for our mental health as well.
Steph and I were just saying that, weren't we? We were walking up and I said to Steph, I feel so calm, I feel incredibly zen, I feel like I've been in my little world a little bit. We're quite self-reflective. But it's because it's so good. Just like I was saying to you about being around pine, we talk about the scent of pine is good for you as well. So all those things together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I needed this day. So thank you. But mushrooms can be so healing as well, can't they? They've got an incredible amount of healing properties too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not all of them, I'm guessing, but there are quite a few of them that are just amazing healers.
You could probably live off of just mushrooms, just different types of mushrooms that have different chemicals and nutrients and vitamins and all these things, just because they are so packed full of amazing stuff for us. And there's medicinal mushrooms as well as edible mushrooms as well as toxic mushrooms. So they provide so much for us as humans, and they're just an incredible species, incredible organism that is just everywhere and is so good for us.
Yeah, incredible.
Do you still find mushrooms like that you've never come across before?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's like, I've been doing this my whole life and I'm like, wow, I've never seen that mushroom before. And I mean, there's even edible mushrooms that I'm friends with a lot of foragers, and I've never seen a hen of the woods, and that's a really common mushroom.
Hen of the woods.
And I've eaten it. I've been around people that have found it, but for me, it's one of those really random common mushrooms that I've just never found. And that's the case for so many people that forage their whole lives and they never see certain mushrooms. So
I'm still waiting to see a scarlet elf cup. I still search.
I think I've seen one actually.
yeah, you can come with me in March and I'll show you where to find them.
So Megan, you said come with me in March.
Absolutely.
So you actually do this full time, don't you?
I do. This is my full-time job. I run foraging courses pretty much every day. So during this season of autumn especially, I am very, very busy with mushroom courses, but I do public courses on the weekends and the evenings, and then private courses midweek. So yeah, anyone can come and forage with me.
Where can everyone find you at home?
At Terra Vitam, which translates to earthly living. But if you want to search us up, you can just put in Terra, Terra, and foraging, and you'll be able to find us.
Amazing.
I want to come to the feast.
Yes, we do big.
We do actually. I actually came on one with Stevie, didn't I?
Yeah.
It was the spring one.
It was.
It was amazing. We went through this beautiful walk. Megan was stopping and showing us all the different flowers that had come up at the time. And we ended with this amazing display of food that was hand cooked by Megan, and it was just divine. So definitely 100% recommend booking in with Megan if you can. Well, thank you so much again, Megan, for this lovely day. It's been just so wonderful to be out with you foraging and just connecting to this wonderful woodland. We're going to end our day now by doing a lovely grounding ritual, connecting to this land and just being really grateful for the harvest that we've just received.